Welcome to the Rotary Club of York. We are a people of action, committed to service above self and serving to change lives. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment to silence your cell phone. Leanne Wilson will lead us in our opening song, God Bless America, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Past President Gordon Frywick will offer the invocation, and Sarah White will introduce our visitors and guests.
We're going to sing America the Beautiful. That's what I'm prepared for today. So, Rotarians and guests, please join me. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move a little slower than Leanne. There is a lyrical phrase in Hebrew, L'dor v'dor, meaning from generation to generation. It reminds us to remember what previous generations did for us and what we can do for future generations. The handing down of faith, hope, helping others, family values, traditions, and love to be cherished. We learn from the past in order to create a future to remember. There's also an appropriate time to think about Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, which begins this evening. Today, let us be grateful and thankful for the generations who went before us, and let us be mindful of the generations who will follow. L'dor v'dor, and let us say Amen.
Hi, I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing our guest for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Jackie is welcomed to you. It's a really long list today, so bear with me. Ruth Ackerman, guest of Youth Leadership. Jermaine Brown, guest of Youth Leadership. Madalena Budzinski, guest of Youth Leadership. Devin Burns, guest of Youth Leadership. Ellen Freerick, guest of Past President Gordon Freerick. Chris Goen, guest of the club. David Heck, guest of Jeff Hamill. Jim Hepfer, guest of Jeff Hamill. Ann Kinsley, guest of the club. Katie Kinsley, guest of the club. Tim Klimchuk, guest of Leanne Wilson. Faye Schroeder, guest of Youth Leadership. Nicole Schroeder, guest of Youth Leadership. Tracy Walter, guest of Youth Leadership. Bill Yanovich, guest of past President Mike Summers. Lee Smotkin, guest of past President Rob Bowen. Nita Lawley, guest of the club. Kim Lentz, guest of past President Ann Druck.
Sorry, I was just checking that song. Like, you were right. I don't know. I had God Bless America on my mind today. It is so great to see all of you with us today. We are so grateful that you're here. We know that you will find this program to be incredibly informational and perhaps even inspirational. And we hope that you'll plan to join us again often. Rotarians, please help me welcome our guests. Thank you. You may be seated. The Educational Vocational Guidance Committee meets today at 1:30 in the terrace room. The fundraising committee will meet on May 4th at 11 here at the club. The membership committee will meet on May 4th at 1:30 here at the club. And just as a reminder, we distributed these wonderful green bags a few weeks ago when Gibby Ross spoke to us, or Ross Gibby rather, spoke to us from CRDC about his incredible program on recycling. So I hope you're taking advantage of the green bags you received that week and are filling them with your disposable plastics. And please plan to bring those back on June the 1st. We'll collect them in the parking lot here at the club. And if you need more bags, you can find them at the door in that box. And if you have any questions, please be sure to seek out Leanne Wilson and she'll be able to answer them for you. So I look forward to seeing a big mountain of green bags in the early part of June. This week is World Immunization Week, which provides an opportunity to focus on the robust polio eradication infrastructure built by Rotary. Polio vaccines have saved an estimated 20 million children around the world from paralysis. Our progress in the fight against polio shows why vaccinations are important. The polio eradication infrastructure has been used to fight other infectious diseases, including supporting COVID-19 prevention and vaccination efforts. With our decades of experience in bringing polio to the brink of eradication, we've been able to highlight the power and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Rotary members have assisted health authorities to communicate life-saving information about COVID-19, to dispel misinformation, and to support fair and equal access to vaccines. So I'm pleased to share with you, a few weeks ago, we talked about the money that we raised on behalf of the Ukraine relief effort. And at that time, it was over 23,000. But after that meeting, 2 Rotarians approached us, George Hummel and past President Al Sykes, and said, let's get that to an even 25,000. And so today we will be writing a check and sending it to the Center for Disaster Philanthropy for their Ukraine Humanitarian Crisis Recovery Fund. Thank you, everyone, for this incredible impact that you're making on the relief efforts there. And now for our member moment. Cal Weary grew up at York College, where his mother worked all through his formal education. He was a student at York Country Day, and his playground was the college campus where he and the professors' kids would play. York College helped to cultivate his love for learning. He began taking courses while a sophomore at Country Day. Always interested in theater, he was triple enrolled, which included the William Penn Performing Arts Institute. At first, he thought his calling was in acting, which began at the age of 4 at the former York Little Theater. But he saw firsthand the changes that can be made in people's lives when you teach. So he became a student director at William Penn and discovered that he loved being in charge. He started a rock band as a freshman in college, and his best friend, president-elect nominee Aaron Jacobs, joined the band shortly thereafter. Post-college, they would serve as the best man in each other's wedding. They played multiple venues, toured, made albums. Cal even started a record label and learned how to market and promote the band, including creating tangible products to sell. Cal married his college sweetheart, Stephanie, and they have 3 children, one who recently graduated college and is pursuing a career in music and acting, another attending a school for the arts, and many of you know Ella, our youth exchange student to France who's studying at York College. Cal became the artist in residence at York High and director of the William Penn Performing Arts Institute. Students came from every district to attend this magnet school. The experience he gained as director gave him the confidence to teach at New Hope Academy Charter School, which went from 26 students in his program to 400 in just 2 years. This led to the start of the Weary Arts Group in 2014, which he describes as arts for everyone, by providing a creative environment for artists of all ages, cultivating a desire and passion to share the arts. He enjoys every aspect of the business, from building sets to directing to paving the way for future leaders. Cal started attending Rotary as a guest long before he became a member. He said every time he came, it was fruitful, as he would always make a new connection, like when he met Walt Tilley, who invited him to the York Youth Symphony Orchestra, where he ultimately became board president. Walt asked him to join Rotary, Aaron asked him to join Rotary, and he finally said yes to Bob Pullo in 2016. Today, he co-chairs the IDEA Committee and has experienced, as he says, many magic moments, made strong connections, and is privileged to be part of an organization with a high concentration of impact. Well, Cal, you continue to make a tremendous impact in everything that you do. Thank you for creating magic moments in your community and commitment to Rotary. You're awesome. Thank you, Cal. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Good job. Cal. And now Phil Woods with a Give Local York presentation.
I appreciate the ability to speak before Students of the Month because it's hard to follow up our students. Wanted to come up here and share with you more information, reiterate what project we're supporting for this year's Give Local York effort. The project, of course, is the Community Engagement Center we recently heard about, presented by Commissioner Michael Muldrow. The center will provide free access to middle and high school youth in the city of York to take part in activities that they're interested in. Those activities could include culinary, dance, performing arts, video gaming and technology, fitness, and more. There's also going to be a plethora of services provided, including laundry services, career guidance, conflict resolution, meals, wellness checks, tutoring, and therapeutic services. The center, we do have some naming opportunities. Hopefully we achieve our goal. $30,000 is our goal this year. If you remember, 2 years ago, we raised about $25,000 for the Kiwanis project. Last year, $13,000. Think about inflation, that 13 becomes 30 very easily this year. So again, naming opportunities at the center, the Rotary Room, and there's a quote at the bottom. I'd like to read that. It says, "It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men," said by Frederick Douglass. Keep that in mind on May 6th when you have an opportunity to make an online donation. Your other opportunity is to flood Lynn with pledges on, well, really anytime between by May 5th, and then you'll make a check payable by May 20th. So again, the golf, tennis, and croquet outing and dinner that we have in the fall requires you to participate in golf, tennis, croquet, obviously. The only participation we ask here is to open your heart, open your checkbook, and make a donation to this effort. And we hope to blow right by that $30,000. Thank you.
We're really excited about this project. Many of you were here to see Chief Muldrow's presentation. He's very excited about working with us on it. So we'll get to see it unveil as it goes, and we look forward to him giving us some updates. So yes, please be sure to consider a contribution to the Give Local York effort on Friday, May the 6th next week. At this time, I'd like to introduce past President Gordon Fryrick with some Students of the Month.
Double duty today, but same pay. York Adams Academy is an alternative high school operated by 18 school districts for students seeking to obtain their high school diplomas. Since its founding in 1990, a total of 4,288 students have earned their diplomas who might not have otherwise if not for York Adams Academy. 4,288 lives changed for the better. Our students today are both 12th grade students at YAA. Madalena Budinsky, whose home school district is Red Lion, and Jermaine Brown, whose home school district is West York. Representing York Adams Academy are Ruth Ackerman, director of the school, English teacher Tracy Walters, Dr. Joseph Mancuso, superintendent of the Eastern New York School District, who is superintendent of record for YAA, and my soulmate, Ellen Fryrick, president of the YAA Joint Operating Board. Should be any questions why I'm up here. Madalena enjoys crafts, drawings, and coin collecting. She intends to work in early childhood education or healthcare. Jermaine is a former football player for West York, enjoys painting, working out, football, and basketball. His career plans involve becoming a residential real estate appraiser. Please welcome Madalena and Jermaine.
Hi, I just want to thank everyone for inviting me. This truly is an honor. Thank you guys. I want to start out by saying that when I arrived at York Adams Academy, I hadn't known what to expect from the students, curriculum, anything. But since I've arrived here, I've completed more goals and expectations than I could ever see myself doing. Not only do I appreciate what the program offers, but the people running it. Each day I'm greeted with a smile and at least a hello from everyone that's there, and just that makes it worthwhile. I cannot thank them enough for their kindness and patience, especially Miss Ackerman. It doesn't matter, rain or shine, she is there to help me, and I am sure she will be there to help many others. I believe with my entirety that York Adams will push you, especially with the work, and things won't be easy. But if you follow the program, work hard, put your all into it, you will succeed, you will complete goals, and you will graduate. I also want to thank Ms. Walter, my teacher at York Adams Academy, and the staff for nominating me for the Rotary Student of the Month. It is truly an honor to be nominated, and I will remember this moment for a very long time. Thank you again.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today and take a minute to appreciate this moment. All of our lives have been kind of hectic since the pandemic happened, and all of our lives were greatly impacted. I was not a student that excelled at online learning at all. My grades plummeted, and it showed. It got to the point where I accepted that I was going to fail like an entire grade. And I accepted that, and I kind of just gave up until I talked to my guidance counselor at West York, and she mentioned York Adams Academy. After that meeting, I did more research about it, and I decided that YAA was where I needed to go. The hours are convenient, and the work assigned is manageable, but also challenging. And on top of that, everyone treats each other with respect. It's an all-around enjoyable environment to be in, where you can tune out the world while getting your work done. Since being at YAA, my world has gotten a lot less hectic, and I'm sure we all know how pleasant that can be. I want to thank everyone at YAA for this opportunity to graduate on time while also providing an amazing environment in which I am able to excel. I am honored to be nominated as the Rotary Club Student of the Month.
Well, you may have surpassed a few goals so far, but you're going to blow past a whole lot more as you continue your education. So impressed with both of you. You're an inspiration, and we wish you much continued success in your education and your future plans. Can you please help me congratulate our Students of the Month once again? All right, now the ever so dapper past president Mike Summers will introduce our program.
Jackie is the stylist in our family. She dresses me. I mentioned last week before, I can't remember which, that the program committee is going to be meeting early May. And so I thank each and every one of you that have sent me suggestions. They have all been great quality program suggestions, and the committee is going to have some good hard work to do. But I will use this as an opportunity to suggest that if you have a good idea, get to me, well, after this meeting, because Lynn and I will be doing a review tomorrow, trying to get the list properly prepared. So we always take suggestions, but again, it's helpful for our planning purposes to have it in the next day or so. Now, on to our speaker. In 1961, a budding entrepreneur founded a subcontracting business with one red pickup truck. That person was York business legend, Bob Kinsley. Bob's hard work and reputation grew the company into one of the region's great construction firms and led to developing a host of related companies to maximize the construction company's effectiveness. During this growth, Bob and his wife, Ann, who is here with us today, produced 5 sons who learned the trade and the Kinsley way of how to run a business and contribute to the community. Bob was able to substantially build out his vision for the company, with each son taking on substantial responsibilities. One of those sons is our speaker today, Rob Kinsley, the Chief Executive Officer of Kinsley Enterprise, a management company that oversees the business assets owned by the Kinsley family. Rob is responsible for ensuring the long-range success and growth of the Kinsley companies. Rob will speak on steering the family enterprise through generational transition and the importance of maintaining values during growth. Rob previously served as the CEO of a Kinsley family company for 25 years, LSC Design, which is now an independent company warehouse. Rob has an undergraduate degree in art and anthropology and is a registered architect with a master's of architecture from the University of Pennsylvania. Rob has served his career working in the architectural, engineering, and construction industries, and has served on a multitude of community industrial related boards. He serves on the boards of the Holderness School, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and York Country Day School. He previously served on the boards of Preservation Pennsylvania, the Journey Through Hallowed Grounds, Sproutwood Farms, the York County History Center, and the York County Library System, along with Jackie. Rob has traveled the world pursuing outdoor adventures, enjoys trail running, mountaineering, skiing, and fishing. And he lives on a farm in South Central Pennsylvania with his wife, Rebecca, and their 3 children. Fellow Rotarians and guests, please warmly welcome the CEO of the Kinsley Enterprises, Rob Kinsley.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really flattered to be speaking to you today. Gordon, I really appreciated your thoughts and comments about generations. I'll try to add to that today. I want to start out by saying that our family is not typically very comfortable being in the spotlight. We don't really promote our story, but we are proud of our 60-year relationship with York County, and we realize that part of that relationship is telling our story. When Mike asked me if I was willing to speak at Rotary, I was surprised. I was a little speechless. And for those of you who know me, that's a rare occurrence. I asked what he wanted me to talk about. He said I could talk about anything. That was not a lot of direction. I decided it might be most helpful and to focus on my perspective working in a family business, because family businesses are unique. It's not advancing. Thank you. Let me lead with what we've come to call the family business paradox. And to illustrate this, I'd like to use some statistics. So Harvard Business School estimates that 70% of all the businesses in the world are family owned, and that number goes to 90% in the US. Studies have shown that family-owned businesses tend to slightly outperform their non-family counterparts. This is a chart that simply shows that in both categories, they follow a typical bell curve. There's both high, middle, and low performing companies. But overall, the performance of family businesses tend to just slightly outperform their non-family counterparts. Now, the question is why? Well, data suggests that it's because family businesses are in it for the long term. They're not chasing quarterly earning reports. They're not worried about their stock price. They can make long-term bets. Here's where we enter the paradox. The numbers also show that the vast majority of family businesses do not survive in the long term. To survive, they need to beat some really tough generational odds. Of all the founders who start a business, only 30% successfully transfer it to their kids, only 12% make it to their grandkids, and only 3% make it past that. As a community, we've lost a lot of longstanding family businesses over the last decade. These kind of losses are not necessarily unusual, but they can add up to shake confidence in our community. It can easily make us worry who else might leave. As most of you know, it's been almost 2 years since my father passed. We realized that people could easily begin to wonder what might happen to a family business like ours after the loss of an extraordinary founder like Bob Kinsley. As we just saw, family businesses often don't last. The statistics are against them. My goal today is to tell you what we are doing to beat those odds. But before we tackle that, I thought you might like a little bit of history. I don't want to take for granted that all of you know our story. My father started a construction company in the early 1960s, soon after graduating from York High. He had no capital, none. So he started with a pickup truck and a few hand tools, grading lawns and installing concrete sidewalks. As he built revenue and a fledgling balance sheet, he invested in equipment and started moving earth and paving streets. By the 1970s, he felt the cash flow challenges of being a subcontractor and always being last on the list to get paid. He decided he needed more control and made the move to become a general contractor, building buildings and working directly for clients. My early memories of my father are of him doing it all, being everywhere, meeting clients, bidding work, managing crews, and as needed, doing manual labor out in the field. In the early years, there was really no boundary between family and business. We all grew up working for the business during the summers, digging ditches, running equipment, learning the construction trades. By the mid-70s, he had become one of the fastest growing dealers of pre-engineered metal buildings and was awarded Rookie of the Year by Armco Building Systems. In the early 1980s, my brothers began to get out of college and started to come into the office and take leadership roles. And by that time, my father had built a reputation as a fair and honest businessman. It is that reputation that allowed two very important trends that would propel the growth of our enterprise. The first involved our clients. They trusted my father to take a larger and larger role in their projects. They were busy running their own businesses. And they began to ask that he take responsibility to both design and build their buildings. Some even suggested that he simplify things even more by building them and leasing them back. And so we entered both the design build market and the real estate development business. The second trend involved our subcontractor partners. Many of these small business owners were aging towards retirement and didn't have a successor. They didn't want to see their businesses close. They'd worked with my father. They saw how he did business. They saw how he treated his employees. They asked if he would be willing to buy them out and keep their businesses running the same way he did. And so we branched out and began to grow a group of like-minded companies under the Kinsley family values. By the mid-1990s, my brothers and I were all working full-time in leadership roles in the company. But by the early 2000s, we were having kids of our own. And as that third generation grew, we began to educate them about our business. We invited them to work during the summers. We even started a junior family foundation to encourage their philanthropic ideals. Over the decade, it's been a steep growth curve. We've grown exponentially. Today, family members run or oversee most of our business units and form the backbone of our executive leadership team. We still move dirt. We still build buildings. But we've expanded to touch a wide swath of our country's infrastructure. We work on the transportation network of highways and bridges. We work on the water, sewer, and gas networks that service our communities. We work on the communication systems that power our cell phones and carry our internet traffic. We are building renewable sources of power and improving our aging electrical grid. And recently, we have started to work on restoring the fragile natural landscapes throughout the 7 states that supply fresh water to the Chesapeake Bay. Today, our enterprise includes 20 different operating companies. We employ over 3,600 people and work in 30 states. You might be tempted to say that this growth alone might be enough to last. You might think that economic success is the key to making a family business last the long term. Well, the folks who study family businesses would say, not so fast. The reality is that most family businesses don't fail for business reasons. Most continue to operate in growing markets and under profitability right until the end. They tend to fail for family reasons. They don't work to ensure their family stays connected to the business. They don't train future business leaders. They don't keep their owners engaged and cohesive. So what are we doing about that? Up until about 10 years ago, we were concentrated largely on business success. Each of us was busy managing our individual business units, and that didn't leave time to focus on the overall portfolio or the family. It didn't leave time to plan. We decided we needed to make some structural changes to manage our growth. We needed to dedicate time and resources to our long-term success. I was the first to be able to step away from my day job running one of our business units and began to plan our reorganization. Many people were confused when I stepped away from being an architect. People kept asking me if I missed doing design work. The answer is yes. People kept asking if I was retiring. I had to keep reminding them that the answer was no. People ask me what my job is now, and it's taken me some time to develop an answer. By title, I am CEO of Kinsley Enterprises. And as Mike mentioned, Kinsley Enterprises is a management company we formed to oversee our assets. We do that by working with our family at large to realize our family values, our direction, our financial objectives. We're regularly analyzing and implementing growth strategies. We're always involved in mergers and acquisitions. But we spend a lot of time really coordinating and managing our existing businesses. And my brothers and I have built a whole team to help us do that on a day-to-day basis. But as we've said, my real job is to ensure the long-term success of the family. I try to do that by focusing on 2 things. First is building the systems that future generations will need to own, operate, and grow the enterprise. Founders and entrepreneurs like my father didn't need robust systems. They wouldn't have followed them anyway. They're used to making their own decisions and simply moving forward. My brothers and I did not fall from the tree. We learned from my father. And until recently, we tended to make decisions and tell each other afterwards. That system won't work as our family and our owner group grows. Second, we need to define and communicate the values that have made us successful, that have made us who we are. We've come to realize it's not just about what we do, but how we do it. So, first objective, systems. Governance is not exactly a sexy business topic, but for us, it's the key to beating the odds. It's how we stay on the path to success. We know that at the top, we need high-performing businesses run by capable management teams. But the long-term foundation holding it up is loyal, educated owners and a united, contributing family. How do we do that? It requires that we acknowledge three very different worlds that overlap: family, ownership, and the business. For most first-generation businesses, all these circles coexist. The founder and their spouse are raising a family, they own and run the business. And for us, these circles overlap deep into the second generation. All 5 sons had joined the business. We didn't have any siblings outside of the business. But as our family grew into a third generation, we knew that would change. In 2007, we hired our first family business consultant. He introduced us to this model and helped us understand its implications. We needed to start to pull these bubbles apart. In the beginning, my parents felt strongly that ownership should be concentrated and closely held by those working in the business. But as we began to discuss what happens over time, as fewer family members might choose to work in the business, we realized that some family could get shut out. We didn't want people joining the business for the wrong reasons, but we really wanted to keep everyone involved. And so ultimately, we made a big decision to spread ownership more broadly, regardless of who chose to work in the business. But we did this with the understanding that we had to educate future owners to be good stewards of the enterprise. Today, we have built systems to deal with the growing complexity of an expanding family. We have spouses who are family but not owners. We have owners who do not work in the business. I want to be clear that there's no single right way to address these three worlds. Every family is different. What I'm about to describe is what we chose to do and what made sense for us. Our family bubble is our most inclusive category. It includes 45 family members spread over 4 generations. The entire family elects a 7-member family council, and that council works to understand the family's larger needs and to keep us cohesive. Our owners bubble includes 29 family owners. My parents' descendants become beneficiaries of non-voting shares outright. Our voting shares are held in a voting trust. Shareholders join that committee of voting at 21. The voting system provides for the organizational transfer between generations and works to insulate the business from the shock of generational transition. The voting committee elects the Kinsley Enterprise Board, and we at Enterprise oversee the various business entities, including both family and non-family executives. This is obviously a very robust governance system. You might ask if we really need it, but it is what we believe will help us build the odds. It has already helped us build multi-generational involvement in our business. Our third generation, the cousins, range in age from 19 to 35. And including their growing number of spouses, they're a group of 20. So far, 9 have decided to join the family business and pursue leadership roles. Now they're already having kids of their own. Our 4th generation, my parents' great-grandchildren, are young kids ranging from only a few months to 8 years old. You might seem young until you realize that in 10 years, the oldest of them will be headed to college and trying to make career decisions of their own. Our second objective is maintaining values and culture. When most people hear the name Kinsley, they immediately think of my father, Bob Kinsley. And when they think of him, they think of a principled, honest, and fair businessman. In truth, the early success of our company was based on the commitment of both my mother and father. They were raising a family and a business at the same time. My mother and father believed in following a set of values in both their personal lives and their business lives. My brothers and I strive to do the same. My father always said, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and only a minute to throw it away. In many ways, the most valuable gift he gave us was that hard-earned reputation. As time goes on, it might be easy for us to lose track of what our father taught us. To ensure that our values get disseminated to future generations of owners and employees, we recently embarked on what we call a values capture project. And with your patience, I'd like to show you a short video.
Growing up, both my parents, my mom and my dad, whether we knew it or not, were regularly trying to instill certain values in us. It's not unusual that I'm in a situation at work and I say, what would Dad do? And it helps guide us in most of our decisions.
Whatever situation came up, and certainly hard work was one of those that was highly valued, and they all had to learn the importance of that from a very young age. But I think it was just as life progressed and as situations came up, it was a way that you could impart those values and realize how important they were.
The Kinsley family values, in my mind, are really emblematic of how my dad lived his life and what he taught us. And those are integrity.
Do what you said you were going to do when you said you would do it. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Positive attitude.
Your word is your bond. Respect people.
Philanthropy, being honest and loyal.
Work hard and play hard so that you can go back and work hard.
Being kind to others.
The good of the group over the good of the individual.
The whole values that really they come out of just what he believed and how he behaved and what he taught us. Integrity matters. You have to have a sense of urgency. You need to work hard.
We believe in our employees. We've built a large organization. He started a very large organization. We never forget the fact that without the employees that work for us, none of it would have happened.
I think the earliest way that Dad started to teach us his values was when we worked with him on the farm. We all grew up on a farm. We learned to pick rocks in fields. We learned to take care of the animals. We learned to do farm work, to fix fences. And even as young kids, we watched the way he worked, and he taught us how to work.
One of the things about him was he always had sayings, and there were a bunch of them. And now that he's gone, he's still mentoring and coaching because those sayings pop into my head all the time.
Get up early, pack your lunch.
Don't let any grass grow under your feet.
Lay your clothes out the night before.
Run where it's level. Business is a sport and your bottom line is your scoreboard.
If you're going to go out and sell, you better have your trucks loaded.
You need to make hay when the sun shines.
Those sayings are still guiding me, still doing what, he always said.
When Bob and I got married and he started the company, I could have never envisioned that it would develop into the enterprise that it has become today. But everything was so related between family and business. I think Kinsley Enterprises is still being guided by the principles and the values that Bob had. And it's very clear that they're operating the way he would have wanted them to.
We had to wait 2 years to do that. We had to, prepare ourselves. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me. I hope that I leave you with at least some understanding of the work that we're doing to secure our legacy and to ensure our continued presence in this amazing community. Thank you. Jackie asked me to stay on time because I think we want to leave some time for questions if people have them. Thank you for making my job that easy. It's a very timely question. I think all of you know that the labor market is a wildly different place today. It's been changing over the last couple decades, but it's changed very quickly in the last 2 years. You know, fortunately for us, most of the things we do in the construction industry, you have to be there to do. But that doesn't mean we're not feeling the pressures of people wanting to do remote work. And we've had lots of discussions about how do you keep culture? How do you maintain people in that atmosphere? I want to credit Bill Yanovich, who joined us, you know, not that long ago, and helping us really understand our commitment to our employees and keeping them engaged and making sure that we continue to talk about our values, because the reality is, as the world has changed, as we've gotten bigger, I think in the past, this just sort of happened. My dad was everywhere. He would walk around the office. He was on job sites. But we have to talk about it regularly. We have to make sure that it becomes a mantra so that we continue to live by those values. So the truck, I'll handle that one first. No, we don't have the original truck. We certainly wish we did. That picture's not, I'm not even sure that's the original truck. I think it's a generation 2 or 3. We have really, we've thought about trying to get that model and restore one to have it. So yeah, that's in our plans. Two-part question. Biggest challenge and biggest opportunity? Well, the two main headwinds that we're facing, and they'll sound familiar to everybody, is supply chain disruption and the labor market. I was telling people today, the supply chain issues, as painful as they are and as difficult as they've gotten since the pandemic and geopolitical issues quite recently, I think they will resolve themselves. I think market forces will figure them out. Things can't get too hot before it slows down and they reset themselves. I think the labor market issue is quite different. I fear that it's long-term and systemic, and there's a lot more work that has to get done to fix that. The numbers, whether it's our birth rate or our immigration rates, don't support the growth of our economy, and we're gonna have to figure that out. So I think that's the biggest challenge. We think the economy is, the fundamentals are there, the economy's raging underneath these challenges. There's work to be done if we can find the people to do it. So the question is, where do we find them? And you know this, you have to get creative every day to figure it out. The biggest opportunity is learning to use technology to help solve some of those issues, whether it's automation or just using technology. And we really see this as a chance to invest in that, because this labor cost issue is changing that metric of how much do I spend to, you know, to protect my labor force or make them more productive, et cetera. So I think that's the biggest opportunity. Bill? We're trying to do good work in developing, we literally have education committees, and we're really trying to understand when, you know, kids are 12 or they're 16 or they're 21, what do they need to do to be effective owners? You know, our past is as owner operators, right? We are deep into everything as a family. We want to continue that. We want to continue to operate businesses, but we need to be realistic that not all family members will do that. But we need the rest of them who are active owners to be intelligent owners. And so we work at that quite a bit. I remember, this is probably 20 years ago, we were at a family seminar down in Williamsburg, and they had two women. One was from the Kodak Eastman family and one was from the Procter and Gamble family. And they were talking about how one had done quite well and one had not. The Kodak Eastman family said that in their family, they just didn't talk about business. That in the family, you just didn't talk about it. And so no one learned about it and it didn't work. Procter & Gamble took it head on and they talk about it on a regular basis so that people are prepared. And that's the direction we're trying to take. The back. Yeah. The question was about philanthropy and trying to understand our family's role in that. What we're trying to do is broaden the family's involvement in our foundation. We're trying to improve the systems. I want to say a shout out to my mother and my niece Katie, who are both work on this initiative more than I do. We've tried to improve the systems where the community can ask and to get more family involvement in our grant committee. It's something, and we report regularly. So our family knows what are we doing, what are we giving to, and they have a voice in how we support nonprofits. When I develop presentations, they always end up at like an hour and a half long, and I've got to get them down to something shorter. I read recently there's 11,000 business books written every year. There's no lack that you could read. I personally, everyone knows or should know Good to Great by Jim Collins. He wrote a second edition. It's a much thinner edition, which is about Good to Great for the nonprofit sector. And I think in some ways that's better reading than the first, because what he tries to talk about is nonprofits tend to be what I'll call non-centralized power structures. Nobody's really in charge. There's nobody who says it's my way or the highway. And you have to learn to solicit information, collaborate, and come to good decisions. And my sense is that's something that businesses can learn from. So I'd encourage you to read that one. I apologize. I'm not sure I understand the question. You mean like for the office market? Yeah. You're asking me to look into a somewhat murky crystal ball, but I'll try. I'll try. My sense is that and there's articles, I think, Bill, you referenced one that was in the Wall Street Journal within the last couple of days. I don't think anyone is saying that people should never come to the office. I think people are saying that they'll come to the office less, a couple days a week. That doesn't change your needs very much. You still, I mean, I worry. I mean, I think as people who invest in commercial real estate, we're not taking out a bunch of loans, building a lot of new office space right now. But I think it's going to resolve itself. I think it's going to settle out. I think offices will have a lot more meeting space and a lot of collaboration space. They may have a lot less sort of personal, I sit at my desk all day space. But I don't think it's going to go away. I think people will find that they need physical space for their office, maybe even more than before, because they have to pull those people back in to make those physical connections. That's my sense. So I don't think it's a free fall. I think it's a pause and a small shrink, but I don't think it's a free fall. Yeah, Fran. I'll take the Chesapeake Bay's Foundation's line and plant more trees. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation, I mean, a lot of you know that there's a lot in the press about we as Pennsylvania and whether we're doing what we need to do to keep up our responsibility to the Bay. we're a very agricultural state. And we need to fix those boundaries, those edges right along our streams to be filters. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation is trying to plant 10 million trees in central Pennsylvania. So I'd say plant a tree. Yes. Yeah, we don't have facilities or headquarters in those states. We are still largely headquartered in PA, Maryland, and Virginia. We have acquired companies that have facilities elsewhere on the East Coast, as south as Florida. The 30 states is all the places we do work. So we get hired to, when we talk about building buildings or moving dirt or really that infrastructure work, that carries us to these states, which is up and down the East Coast and out into the Rocky Mountain West. Our work on especially the utility infrastructure probably takes us the farthest. Thank you.
Rob, thank you for sharing the Kinsley way with us today. And I think I can speak for probably most of us in this room. I think your dad has touched us. I think just about everybody here knew him in one way or the other. And that just reminds us of how much we miss him. It's so great that you have created this for the family and for the generations to come, and that we'll see that Kinsley name in perpetuity. So thank you for the great work that you do in our community, for your care and commitment to our community, and we wish you so much more continued success. Thanks for being here, and Anne, thank you for being here too. Rob signed the book plate for us for the book Dig by A.S. King, which we will donate to York Adams Academy for you to take back with you today. And thank you again to our students of the month. Next week, we'll hear from world-class pianist, recording artist, author, and educator, Robin Spielberg. Robin and her husband, business partner, Larry Cosson, run 3 businesses in York County, a publishing company, a record label, and a talent agency. She has released 21 albums and close to 500 million streams on music streaming platforms. She has performed concerts throughout the United States and Asia and is an adjunct professor at Millersville University's Tell School of Music. With 100% of concert tours canceled during the pandemic, we'll learn how their creative strategies and business philosophy kept their businesses vibrant through a challenging period. We'll also be treated to a live performance. In closing today, our quote is by transformative business leader and icon Jack Welch. Good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. This meeting is adjourned.